Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Simone here, and today we have a very special tag video. This is the mental health on BookTube tag. This tag has been created, co-created by myself, Nicole from A Beautiful Chaos of Books, and Victoria from What Victoria Read, and we are doing this tag alongside mentalhealthathon, which I'll link my announcement video down there for you. Basically, the three of us are, it's Nicole's baby, but myself and Victoria are co-hosts for the mentalhealthathon, which is basically taking place from the 1st to the 31st of May. And we've done a tag video, which we would love all of you to do and just to enjoy. The point of the tag is, to, like I said, to go alongside the mental health-athon, and it's to go alongside Mental Health Awareness Month, which is the entirety of May. It also is to kind of talk about how important it is that we talk about mental health on BookTube, and that we, you know, it's a thing that we talk about and we enjoy talking about and kind of raise awareness for as well. If there are any questions in this tag that you don't want to do, or that you don't feel comfortable talking about, then absolutely don't worry about it, and you don't have to go into any detail on any of the questions if you don't want to either. So just feel free to skip questions or just to, you know, say and move on, whatever makes you comfortable. Please do use the hashtag mentalhealthathon so we can find your tags if you do them, because whether that's on Twitter, Instagram, or on YouTube itself, and let us know when you've done them and we can go and share them out with the world. And thank you so much for taking part. So I'm going to go on with the questions now. I will have put all the questions in the description down below, so that you can see the questions as well. But yeah, question number one. Question number one is, why do you read books about mental health or featuring characters living with mental illnesses? And for me, the reason why I read books about mental health is because I suffer from a mental health illness myself. I have generalized anxiety disorder and depression. I have also suffered with an eating disorder in the past, so I find it really interesting and really important for me that my books also reflect that in some ways. I don't always want to read books, like every single book about them, but I definitely think it's interesting and important to have that included in the reading that I do in order to kind of see myself in books. I think it's important to kind of see that it's a normal thing, and you know, it's not just I don't want my books to be completely alien to my life, and I find that really interesting and really important, like I said. So yeah, it's definitely a kind of top priority for me to find books that have good mental health representation, and that's why I choose to pick up those books. It's also, to me, really accurate in that the majority of you know, friendship groups generally have at least one or more people who suffer from a mental health illness. So to me, if I read a kind of like YA book or I read a contemporary book, I would expect to see that in the book, if that makes sense. Like, otherwise to me it's just unrealistic. So yeah, that's another reason. Question number two is, what aspects of mental health or mental illness do you wish were discussed more in books? And I have a couple with this one. The first one is medication. I feel like antidepressants, for example, or like antipsychotic medication, any like mental health medication, I feel like isn't talked about as much. I feel like it's often kind of counselling, therapy, that kind of thing, but I wish that the sort of stigma was taken away from taking antidepressants, or you know, having to rely on certain medications in order to get yourself through the day. I don't take antidepressants now, but I did, and I've definitely dabbled with different ones depending on kind of the time when it happened, and yeah, it's definitely something that I feel strongly about. If you need, that you should be able to take and not feel like it's a failing of any kind, because it absolutely is not. If you need to kind of take them for your own sanity and to help you, then absolutely I feel like you should. And I feel like books need to talk about that more, especially YA books, because I feel like often the only time you see a kind of character who is on medication is generally because they're in a hospital setting, and they're like sedated and that kind of thing. But I don't think that's always the case. Like, you know, obviously there are extreme cases, but it's not always like that. Sometimes people are on medication for the, you know, because in kind of, and still being able to do their daily life. So that's what I kind of wish was a thing. Also, the other thing that I wish was talked about more in, it kind of goes along with that one, but it's particularly in YA books, it's kind of the parents who suffer with a mental illness. I feel like a lot of the time, the only time I kind of think about it is that something like, for example, a parent has you know, is an alcoholic, for example, or a parent might have a mental health illness, but they're like completely debilitated, unable to parent, unable to kind of get up and do anything, unable to like look after themselves. Whereas I feel like it needs to be more mainstream that like you can be on antidepressants or whatever, or any kind of medication for these mental health illnesses, and you can still be doing your life. You can still have kids, you know, they can still be parents, they can still be good parents. Like, it doesn't mean that you're a terrible person, or that you kind of are unable to like get out of bed and do anything. I wish that was more of a prevalent thing. Next question is, do you read any non-YA contemporary books that talk about mental health or mental illness? For example, non-fiction classics, etc. I predominantly don't read YA contemporary, so the mental health books I read tend to fit into my genre. So a lot of the time I read mental health related thrillers. I did a video last Wednesday, which I'll link up there in the cards and down below. I think it's up there, which was my non-fiction recommendations, which are they're not necessarily like mental health memoirs, but they are definitely have mental health elements to kind of other non-fiction books, which like I say, I'll link down below for you. So yeah, I definitely do. I read a lot of adult books as well. I tend to read quite a mixed variety of things, but I would say my mental health books are not you know, predominantly YA contemporary, although I do feel like that's often the place that people start. Next one is, have you ever read a mental health book which has had a profound impact on you? If so, which one? And for this one, I've actually gone with my the book that I chose as my co-host pick for the mental health-athon. So if you really want to read this one, it's part of the mental health one, which is great. It is Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman, and the reason I picked this one was because this book had such a lasting impact on me, and I still think about it now. This follows a woman named Eleanor Oliphant who is very lonely. She is dealing with, in some ways, alcoholism. She relies on alcohol quite a lot, but she literally leaves her work on a Friday evening and she doesn't see anybody else until Monday morning when she goes back to work. And it's about her struggle with like relating to people. It's definitely about loneliness. It's about, I don't know, it's that I feel like it really touched a nerve on me, and I feel like it really made me think about myself, and it definitely had an impact on me for that reason. It's also a book that I just felt like I needed at that time, and yeah, I just want more people to read it, I really do. So I'm hoping, I even bought this for my mum for Mother's Day last year, last year, and she really enjoyed it as well. So yeah, I feel like I need everybody to read it, hence why I picked it as my co-host pick, so more people did. Next question is, who are some of your favourite creators who talk openly about mental health? Could be booktubers, book bloggers, etc. I've picked booktubers just because that's predominantly what I kind of consume media-wise, I guess. And so I have to obviously talk about Nicole from A Beautiful Chaos of Books, and Victoria I'll also talk to, but Nicole initially, she started the mental health-athon last year, which obviously drew attention to it, and has talked about mental health quite a lot on her channel. She does talk a lot about her own living with mental health and the different things that she's had to face. I will link down, there is a video specifically where she talks about her story with mental health, and I will link that down below for you, because it is one of the most it's one of the most raw videos that she has done, and I think that it really talks about it's really personal, and I think that it's definitely something that has really helped me to kind of open up myself a little bit. So I would definitely say Nicole is one of the people that I love watching her videos. I also really enjoy talking Victoria, from What Victoria Read. Victoria, again, is not somebody who shies away from her struggles. She talks a lot about her during her vlogs a lot of the time, because obviously when you're vlogging for like a week, it often means that there's some elements or times in there where you know, things aren't necessarily perfect and you don't feel like 100% your best. And I think that her vlogs are really interesting, and I love how she talks about her she's very honest and open about it, and I think that's really interesting, and I love listening to her talk about mental health. Another person who I adore, who I really enjoy listening to her talk about mental health, is Emily from Novelle Novels. Emily is amazing, and the things that she does and the things that she manages to accomplish on a day-to-day basis are just like amazing. She's so incredible and so inspiring for me, and I think she's one of those people who has such a get up and go, even though she's been dealt some pretty horrible things, like pretty nasty things have happened, but she is just, you know, amazing, and I couldn't be prouder to be her friend. So yeah, I love her. And then the last one on this little bunch is Leanne from Literary Diversions. Leanne has become somebody that I could not live without now. I talk to her every single day, and so as well as privately we talk about mental health, but specifically in her videos, she's again not somebody who feels like she can't talk about it. She definitely talks openly about her mental health, and she kind of makes you feel like you just want to hold her, you know, you just want to hug her, because she's just so lovely. I love her. And I just, yeah, she talks about mental health a lot, and I would definitely recommend. She does like catch-up videos, and there are times where she's not been able to film just because of mental health issues or reasons, and she'll come back and she'll do little updates, and I just think it's really relatable and really honest, and yeah, I love her. Next up is, have you ever read a mental health book which negatively portrayed mental health? If so, which one? There have been a few, I'm not gonna lie. I came up with one because it happened to be the first one I could think of, but there are definitely more than this, and this one's not, I feel a bit bad because this is this is an author that a lot of people really love, and I do really enjoy some of her books, but this one I found really, really bad for the mental health representation for me personally. So this is The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware, and the woman in this, so this is, what was the woman's name? Lo Blacklock. Before she goes, she's a journalist, and she gets invited to a launch of a new cruise ship, luxury cruise ship, and before she goes, something happens to her, and she's pretty much dealing with the aftermath and the trauma of that, and then essentially she goes to this cruise and sees a body being thrown overboard from the room next door, and nobody believes her. And the mental healthness, I felt like it was just really, firstly it was really rushed, and it was really kind of emotional and raw in the wrong way, if that makes sense. I just felt like it was too much. It didn't make any sense to me, the things that were happening. I felt like she was not believed at all, which is one of my least favourite tropes. I hate that. And I just, yeah, I was uncomfortable with the way that she was perceived by other people because of certain things that had happened in her past. This is definitely not the worst example of mental health being negative in a book, but this is just the one, like I said, that I came up with at the point when I come up with it. But yeah, this made me uncomfortable. Next question is, what is your favourite book, series or genre to read when you're struggling with your mental health? Genre-wise, I'm not really somebody who feels like I can't read certain things if I'm struggling with my mental health. I'm actually somebody that just tends to just kind of read the same sorts of things regardless, but I do enjoy the more kind of non-realistic, so something that's not happening, that couldn't possibly be happening in the world here, if that makes sense. Some people I know find contemporaries and fluffy reads and romance reads nice, but I find if I'm feeling super anxious, reading about real world stuff, I'd rather read fantasy, or I'd rather read, you know, something completely different that couldn't possibly be real, if that makes sense. That's how I kind of feel. However, Harry Potter is always the thing that gets me out of any form of negative mind space. So sometimes I don't even read the whole book. I'll just literally, if I'm feeling rubbish, I'll just read a chapter. I'll just randomly open it up. What have I got here? The second task. And I'll just literally read a chapter, because it just makes me feel better and lifts my spirits, and I love it. And I mean, I wasn't going to say Harry Potter, but then I was like, who are you kidding? Of course it's Harry Potter. Next question is there any mental health book you wish your younger self could have read? And 100% yes. I would say anything by Holly Bourne, pretty much, but specifically Am I Normal Yet by Holly Bourne, which is the first book in the Spinster series, Spinster Club series, I always say that. But it follows a girl named Evie who has OCD, and it talks a lot about intrusive thoughts. It talks a lot about negative mindsets. It just talks a lot about things, and I think it really would have helped me to realise the intrusive thoughts that I was having when I was younger. It would also have helped me realise that, you know, there are ways of helping yourself and ways of getting through certain things, or at least ways of putting yourself on a positive pathway. yeah, so I feel like it just would have really helped, because it's definitely a book that I have been inspired by and has really helped me in my later years, so I kind of wish I'd been able to do that earlier on. And then the final question is there a mental health book which you are yet to get to but still want to? So I have two, the first of which is one I've talked about a lot recently. It is It's Not Okay to Feel Blue and Other Lies, Inspirational People Open Up About Their Mental Health, curated by Scarlett Curtis. So this is, like I said, a curated book with lots of different, all these different people have written little bits in the book. So for example, I'm going to see if I get different ones than I got last time. We have 70% Crying, 30% Banter by Candice Carty-Williams, who's an author. We have A Year of Eat, Pray, Love in Bedlam by Nadia Craddock, who is a body image researcher, podcast co-host and producer. And thirdly, we have The List by Emma Thompson, who's an actress. So yeah, I'm really interested in this. These are potentially little hints for what I might be reading for mentalhealthathon, but this is definitely one that I am buzzing to get to. Can't wait for that. And then the other one is another one which I'm probably going to read for mentalhealthathon. Again, a little spoiler for, I think it'll be next Wednesday's video, which is It's Kind of a Funny Story by Ned Vizzini, which is a book I've had on my shelf for a little while now, and I've been really wanting to read it, and I'm finally going to hopefully get to it, which unfortunately Ned Vizzini died by suicide. I think it was obviously after this book, but I don't know if he's written anything else. But this is a kind of book based on his experiences in a mental hospital, I believe. The main character, it's this fictional story, but I think it's based on his true experiences. Yeah, it's about the people that he meets, a boy named Craig, and it says, Ned Vizzini, who himself spent time in a psychiatric hospital, has created a remarkably moving tale about the sometimes unexpected road to happiness. So yeah, I'm going to read this. I think it's going to be an interesting and really insightful book. I think it's going to be really difficult to read knowing, though, that the author is no longer with us. Yeah, I find that really difficult. But yeah, like I said, I really want to read this one. I need to get to it. I feel like a lot of people have talked about it. And then we have to tag some fellow booktubers who talk about mental health on their channel. So I have picked 5 people. Again, if you don't feel comfortable doing this tag, then absolutely don't worry about it. But if you do, then I would love you to do it. So I'm firstly tagging Emily from Novel Novels. I'm going to tag Leanne from Literary Diversions. I'm going to tag Ashley from A Frolic Through Fiction, Mary from Mary Among Stories, and Brit from Basically Brit. I would love to see you guys' answers, or if you're watching this and you have not been tagged by me, then feel free to say that I tagged you, and I'd love you to do it. We would absolutely love loads of people to do this and raise more awareness for people, and lots of things on BookTube. Mental health is really important, and it's definitely a very important topic. Also, let me know if you are taking part in Mental Health-athon, because I'm very excited. It's not that long away now, it feels like. It's going to be a couple of weeks now. But yeah, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I shall see you next time for another video. Bye guys!